What's up YouTube? We're back with another video. I'm Brandon, and today we're talking about how to create custom menus within Google Sheets. This is going to be a pretty short video because there's really not much to this. It's a pretty simple process, but if you watched our previous video on how to send emails from Google Sheets, you'll have noticed that there is an option up at the top here called Auto Mailer, and if we clicked on that, then there would be a drop down that would appear allowing us to send out our emails, which this is tied to a function that we set up in app scripts that would simply just take the emails that we have scheduled for today and then send them out accordingly. And so what we'll be doing is walking through the process of creating a custom menu from scratch, just so you get a sense of how it works, and you'll be able to do it yourself once it's all said and done. So I hope you're ready to get started, and with that said, we'll just jump right in. Okay, so here we are in a blank document, and in order to get started adding a custom menu to our spreadsheet, what we need to do is open up app scripts, because the way that we add custom menus to Google Sheets is by defining a custom function that will run and tie our menu options to various functions that we would like to associate them with. So we'll go to extensions here and then click on app scripts, and that'll open up the editor where we can define the function that will build out our custom menu. And Google actually provides some documentation for how to do this, and we're going to do this with the UI class. And so if I open up the documentation for that, scroll to the top, we can see that there's a bunch of different things that we can do with the UI class. We can add buttons to the UI, we can add alerts and things like that. What we're concerned with is creating a menu, so we'll click on the method for creating a menu, and we get an example of what the code needs to look like for adding a menu to our Google Sheet. And it looks like it needs to go within an onOpen function, which is a standard function Google or AppScripts provides that will run every time we open up the Google Sheet, because that's what we want. We want the menu item to be available every time we go into the Google Sheet. And then down below, this is where we actually define what our menu looks like. And so it looks like we are going to create a menu, and this top level item will be called My Menu, and then we can add items below it, we can add separators and all sorts of fun stuff. And if we click on the menu.addToUI method here, then that'll open up the documentation for the menu class, which will tell us everything we can add to our menu. And so this will include things like adding items to the dropdown and separators and submenus that will have pop-outs and things like that. So we're not going to get super into that, but for the purposes of this demo, we'll just keep things simple and add a single item to our menu. And I'm going to start by copying the example code they have here as a starting point, and then I'll paste that into our editor. And then now we have our onOpen function and all the structure that we need to our function in order for this to run properly. I'm going to get rid of the submenu because we're not going to get into that. And then I'm going to get rid of the separator because we're only going to have one option for our menu. And we're just going to customize this a little bit just so we know it's ours. And we'll just say this is a do nothing option. So that'll be the top level option we have. And then the name for the item within the dropdown will be run do nothing. And then we need to, in the second argument here, tie this name or this string to the name of a function that's going to run whenever we click run do nothing. And so I'm just going to call this our do nothing function. And then inside of it, we're just going to do nothing basically. And so I'm going to console.log doing nothing. And then I'm going to go ahead and change the name of our function that we have defined in the second argument to do nothing so that it matches the name of our function here. So now every time we click run do nothing, this will run and then nothing will happen. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and then I'm going to select the do nothing function, or the onOpen function rather, and then I'm going to run that so that this menu gets added to our Google Sheets. So if we go back into Google Sheets, it should be added here, and it looks like we have an option right to the right of our help option called do nothing, and then if we click on that, there should be an option for run do nothing. So if I click on that, it will run and nothing will happen. So it looks like everything's been added properly. But in order for this to really kind of settle into our memories and understand, how this is working, it really helps to have some functionality that we are going to fire off every time we click on our menu option. So for the purposes of this demo, what we're going to do is imagine that we have a colleague that is working on a budget within our Google Sheet here. And what we've decided is that we like the budget that they've created, but we would prefer that we didn't have to look at this budget because budgets are not really very fun to look at. So we're going to create something else that is a little more fun. And so this colleague has done a lot of great work here, but we're going to help them with some additional functionality, adding it to our custom menu. So we'll go ahead and add a function that we will run, and it's going to plant some fruit as part of a farm that we're going to start. So we're going to actually call this establish farm is going to be our option that we're going to run, or the top level option rather. And then we're going to go ahead and say plant eggplants. and that's going to be the function or the option that's going to show up in the dropdown. And then what we want to do is run this plant eggplants function. So we will go ahead and type that in, save that out, and then we're going to go ahead and run our it's going to ask for some permissions, so we're going to have to review some permissions, and then I'll log in here just so we can allow these permissions. But if we're manipulating the spreadsheet, this is going to happen. It didn't happen the first time because we didn't actually do anything. But since we're inserting some values now into the spreadsheet, this is going to ask us to allow those permissions. So just go ahead and allow those, and then we'll be able to run this function every time we click on plant eggplants. So let's go back to our budget here, which looks great. A lot of great work has gone into this, but we really would like this tab to be a farm because that would be much more meditative, let's say. So we'll go ahead and go to our established farm function, and we will click on plant eggplants, and that will now turn our spreadsheet into a farm of eggplants. And so I think we can all agree that this is a much better spreadsheet tab than the one we had previously with the boring numbers. And now we have a farm that has started automatically for us by running a function that we have run from our custom menu. That's about all there is to know about creating custom menus. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please smash that like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.